So today we woke up to this news that once again the World Bank is telling the Kenyan government that it needs to raise taxes, especially the VAT taxes, for it to handle our debt. And one day we are going to talk about this debt seriously, because I don't know why everyone is closing their eyes as if we are not the ones who owe this World Bank this huge amount of money, because we pay this debt almost 2 trillion a year, but it's never going down. It's forever going up, up, up. So anyway, I don't know if the government is going to fall for what the World Bank is suggesting, because remember, if you checked my pinned posts, then you're going to see how the World Bank predicted the Genz protest, but they didn't think it's going to be that intense, and how after it became too much, they had to, come up with measures on how they're going to counter the Genz movement. You can check out my pinned post for that. But is the government going to fall for this again? Because if you raise VAT, that means everything goes up. Everything, from transport to electricity to gas to food to anything, farm inputs, everything goes up. So I wonder what they're going to choose to increase VAT on, and let's keep an eye on them. But once again, guys, please check out my channel, because you're going to understand how the West is invading and China is invading heavily us, while we're still just vibes and inshallah, until it will not be vibes and inshallah.
The road from Nairobi to Nakuru, I've been talking about it for many times. The road was anticipated earlier to cost Kenya around 160 billion Kenya shillings. Now we have seen that has been revised upwards to around 200 billion Kenya shillings. A 40 billion increment with no increment in kilometers, just possibly maybe increment in interests. This is the issue about that road, that there is no country in our region that can afford to toll a corridor road, economically speaking. And it is a wrong model for Kenya to think you can toll Nairobi, Nakuru, or up to Mau Summit Road, because it can't work economically. And I'm just here asking the people in the western part of Kenya, all the way, the people who go to Nakuru from Nairobi, the people who use that road, North Rift, South Rift, Western Kenya, Nyanza, and all the regions that primarily use the highway. These are Kenyans who pay taxes in all its forms. They pay VAT, they pay pay, they pay all manner of taxes. On top of that, the users of Nairobi-Nakuru Highway also pay fuel levy. The government development agenda in terms of roads is domiciled around the taxes Kenyans pay and also fuel levy. Kenyans who already pay taxes for making roads, why are they being made to pay to use the road from Nairobi to Nakuru? That is more than triple taxation. And the road should be built, and Kenya has many avenues. Kenya has been borrowing currently for the recent 1 year. Kenya borrows 3.5 billion Kenya shillings every single day. It therefore means if we optimally allocate the resources that Kenya is borrowing every day, this road we can be building 3 kilometers because it's costing 1 billion shillings per kilometer. We can be building 3 kilometers every day. It will take us 60 days to have built the road from Nairobi to Nakuru without having to make residents pay and without having it operate as a PPP. And the major egregious issue on that on that road is that all the other private sector investors have shunned the model of PPP on the road because it's not viable commercially. If you look even yesterday, I am glad that even newspapers, I saw Business Daily actually covered that the Nairobi Expressway is making losses, is actually widening the loss. With the traffic we see on the road, it is making losses. Yet the government is forcing NSSF to use money for workers to do what the government ought to have done in building roads. The government is deliberately forcing NSSF to sink workers' money because it will never recover this money. And that is why a project like a road is deemed to be a public good. Public goods are never to be paid to use. And that is why you can never recoup money by charging. You build them using conventional taxes and conventional levies like the fuel levy. And this issue of tolling, definitely, NSSF is sinking workers' money. It will never recover. But more importantly, we cannot subject Kenyans who use Nairobi-Nakuru highway into paying for the road, yet they already participate in paying taxes and also paying levies like the fuel levy.
Safina Party leader Jimmy Wanjigi says Kenya is ripe for what he calls a third liberation, not a battle of bullets or slogans, but of economic ideas. In an exclusive interview with NTV, the businessman turned politician argues that President William Ruto has already lost public trust, pointing to the 2024 finance bill protests as a turning point. Wanjigi's plan entails rejecting what he calls odious debt, shrinking government and cutting taxes. Here's NTV's Zachary Nyakweba with more.
Since gaining independence, Kenya has experienced two significant periods of political change: the transition to self-rule in 1963 and the reintroduction of multi-party democracy in the 1990s. Businessman turned politician Jimmy Wanjigi now argues that the country requires a third liberation, this time an economic one. He asserts that, although previous struggles liberated Kenyans politically, the current debt, taxation, and an employment crisis have enslaved Kenyans. Wanjigi argues that President William Ruto lost the trust of Kenyans during the protests against the 2024 finance bill.
That, in my view, was Ruto's midterm contest. And they say if you lose a midterm, you're done. You're done. William Ruto can hang on all he wants, but he's really just hanging on, wasting our time. I think we focus too much on his exit. He's going.
He argues that successive regimes borrowed recklessly, violating the financial controls outlined in Chapter 12 of the Constitution.
This country, if it continues paying its debts, we are dead. If we don't, we survive. That's as simple as it is. Those laws have been broken. And any debt, for example, that is collected outside of our laws or taken outside of our laws, taken outside of our budget, must be considered odious debt. Debt that is not due by us as a citizenry of Kenya to pay. Because why should we pay what we have not seen benefit of?
Wanjigi has also taken issue with the current political opposition, saying it risks repeating past mistakes.
Others are here talking one term, sijui 2 term. Those are, to me, sloganeering. The issue is, even if we got power tomorrow after William Ruto, then what? If you are not solving the issues that people went out on the streets for, or that people are angry about William Ruto for, you're dead also.
Wanjigi says his first move, if elected president, would be to audit the national debt and cancel any that does not meet the legal threshold.
Here we are not going to default. We are going to literally audit the debt as a government of Safina, and thereafter, whatever is not followed our laws, we are going to write off from the books of accounts. Because how do you pay something that is not lawful? That is participating in criminality.
The Safina Party leader further predicts that the 2027 contest will naturally narrow down to 2 camps, but not along tribal or party lines.
The way things are going, I cannot see William Ruto getting 50+1. In fact, he will be probably a poor third if there's a race of credible candidates. He will be a poor third. He will not be even in the next round. So the constitution is clear. The 2-horse race is formed, will be formed. And let the people maybe this time decide the 2-horse race, not people in boardrooms, in meeting rooms, cutting up our cake called Kenya.
Will Kenyans embrace Jimmy Wanjigi's third liberation, or will they dismiss it as another campaign promise? Zakari Nyakweba, NTV, Nairobi.
Thank you, Nyakweba.
Wengi wenu mlitumia baba kama sera. Na juu tulimpenda, tuliwapatia kura. Coming 2027, kama uoneshi kitu umefanya kwa ground, ndege ni aviator. Direct nyumbani. Stage ya kwanza ni nyumbani. Hakuna story ya kwamba pigieni huyu, sijui ni mtu wetu, na ana kitu amefanya kwa ground. Nyumbani.
Hakuna cash out.
Hakuna cash out.
Hakuna cash out.
Hakuna cash out.
Unaenda,
hakuna cash out.
Hi Kenyans, mi sina maneno mingi. All I want to say is Ruto must go, like yesterday. Bye.
Ati black chocolate ni fine melanin bana kutoka nikapate. Kanapenda kenye mi wanapenda, so kanapenda toto chupa na haga nono.
Madam na kudai, umedunga mini na unapenda mangwai. Una dance fit, unawacha nikismile. Ama niko high, jua lies nice.
Kono moja mbele, ngine yende rembe. Pile up, yoni.
Enyewe, Ruto must go. Enyewe, Ruto must go. By the way, Ruto must go. Enyewe, Ruto must go. Wash fire, Ruto must go. Enyewe, Ruto must go. By the way, Ruto must go.